You're listening Table Talk Podcast. Danny Barr, Paul Marino, Rob Klein in the other room. Gentlemen.
Hello, fellas.
Hey, guys.
So Danny had asked me, well, he had mentioned to me that he watched the documentary Mel Brooks, the 99-year-old man, and it was on Max and it was on HBO. So I got a chance to watch that the last couple of days. And, you know, I of course, I knew Mel Brooks. But
Personally?
No.
Oh.
I knew some of his stuff, and I knew, I just never really noticed how his career got started and everything. I thought it was a pretty good documentary about how he grew up poor, and he was, his father and mother, and I think it was in Brooklyn they lived, the Jewish section of Brooklyn, and, he grew up as watching entertainers like the Marx Brothers and Buster Keaton and
the Ritz Brothers.
The Ritz Brothers.
Which they don't get the recognition.
Yeah, I didn't really hear much about them.
No, basically the Marx Brothers were inspired by them. And the Ritz Brothers kind of created that genre.
That was in the vaudeville circuit, right? And then Marx Brothers came afterwards.
Right.
They started the same way.
They had slapstick comedy, one-liners, reactionary, that kind of stuff. And, but if we were 100 years old, we would know who the Ritz Brothers are. I mean,
right.
I knew who they are because I've just been a fan of comedy my whole life. But yeah, it was. It didn't surprise me. The Ritz Brothers and Harold Lloyd get overlooked a lot because Buster Keaton and the Marx Brothers, Charlie Chaplin get all the attention.
Yeah,
but yeah, Ritz Brothers and Harold Lloyd were huge.
But his father was in show business, and his father, while he was still there, his real name was Kaminsky. But he got involved young, at 14 years old, and a little bit of getting involved in show business. He took up the drums, and he was taught by Buddy Rich. Well,
his father was involved with jazz,
and then he met Buddy Rich, and he taught him the drums.
And I think that went a long way in his delivery. His type of comedy was like jazz. The polishness of Mel Brooks's comedy.
Yeah, but he went. At 17 years old, he wound up going into into World War II. He was in France, occupying France, and they were on their way to push the Germans out. He kind of got in there late, so he kind of missed a lot of the bigger battles. But so he wound up being like part of the occupying force, getting them out. And him and his brothers all went into war. So by the time he came back from that, somehow he got hooked up with Sid Caesar.
Your show of shows.
And then he wound up being a writer on the show of shows.
And look at that lineup.
Oh, yeah, you had
Neil Simon, Carl Reiner, Howard Morris, which Howard Morris is more widely known as Ernest T. Bass.
Yes.
From Mayberry, from Andy Griffith's show.
They were funny, those guys. But he insisted on paying Mel Brooks to be a writer out of his own pay, Sid Caesar. They wanted to get rid of him. And he goes, I'm paying him. He's staying on. So he says, if it wasn't for Sid Caesar, I never would have had a career. And then Carl Reiner later on.
And there's a lot of legends that will say that about Sid Caesar. That, to me, Sid Caesar was not one of the funniest guys. Maybe I didn't get it, but I was more of an Ernie Kovacs guy from those days, those early television days. Texaco Star Theater was the actual name of Sid Caesar show. But but what a brilliant writing lineup.
Gelbart from MASH was on
that. MASH.
Yeah, Larry Gelbart.
Larry Gelbart.
Yeah.
And Neil Simon, like I said, like he didn't have much of a career later.
No.
But yeah, it was Brooklyn just put out some ridiculous talent.
Oh yeah.
Back in the 40s and 50s.
But then he came back from the war, and I think one of the girls that were dancers in that show of shows, like when the dancers come out, was this lady named Florence Baum. That was his first wife. He had 3 kids with her. Dean Martin was trying to get with her, and she told him, I'm going to be with Mel. So Mel Brooks beat out Dean Martin for a showgirl. I thought that was pretty funny.
And then that really wasn't Dean's style.
No, but I mean, yeah. But I thought it was kind of funny. But and his first big skit was the 2,000-year-old man thing that he did. And
With Carl Reiner.
that was his first big one. And they got a lot out of that, and they made an album in 1960, and that got a lot of acclaim. Kind of gave him some money for a while, and then
Are you reading your notes, Paul?
yes,
Are you able to?
I'm just double checking. Well, no, it's like
I looked at your notes. I thought it was a prescription.
He worked with Jerry Lewis for a short time, but he couldn't get along with Jerry Lewis. Jerry Lewis was too much of a perfectionist, and they didn't get along too well. And then he just went dead for a while. For 5 years, he went dead. Now, he met Anne Bancroft, who was in a Broadway show, and he started dating her. And then he wound up being with her, and before they got married, he had no money. And then they got married, he had no money at all. Zero. She was a big movie star already, and she had won an Academy Award. She was making money. She was in a lot of movies. And then he got his big break.
Mrs. Robinson.
Mrs. Robinson. And he got his big break with Get Smart. He wrote Get Smart
With Buck Henry.
And we all know the show. I thought it's a brilliant show. It was phenomenal.
Oh, yeah. Don Adams, and kind of, inspired by Pink Panther and James Bond. And,
right.
Oh, yeah. Classic show. Great.
And then he went from there to Blazing Saddles.
Henry Mancini did the theme. Oh, yeah. Blazing Saddles. The movie that could not be made today.
No. And everybody says it on that documentary. You know? And he wrote that with Richard Pryor.
Yep. And Richard Pryor was supposed to play the sheriff.
And they wouldn't allow it.
Well,
The studio didn't want him.
Well, Richard Pryor was having his own problems at that time.
Okay.
And they felt that this wasn't they didn't talk about this in the documentary, but the studio and Mel also did not think Pryor could be counted on.
Okay.
Because of his extracurricular activities. And so they were able to get Cleavon Little.
Who's great in it.
And I found it interesting that Gene Wilder was not who they wanted to be the kid.
No, there was a few actors that they wanted, right?
Right.
Well, wasn't Dustin Hoffman supposed to be in? Oh,
Dustin Hoffman, but he was doing The Graduate.
Yeah, he was doing The Graduate with Anne Bancroft.
Yeah.
But when he met...
And Richard Dreyfuss had in The Graduate, when the landlord was trying to break in the apartment door because Dustin Hoffman's character wasn't paying his rent, and he opens the door and there's other people there. There's like a crowd of people. Richard Dreyfuss is in that crowd.
Is he?
Yeah.
I remember that. But so Anne Bancroft said that he followed her everywhere when he first met her. He would find out where she was going that night, and he'd show up like he was stalking her.
Right.
And then he finally got married and stuff. But then he went from Get Smart to Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein.
And now, wait, before you...
Go ahead.
You're going fast on Blazing Saddles. Look at what all the things...
I was just making the point that he started making money.
All the things the studio wanted to cut out of Blazing Saddles.
A lot.
Mongo, punching the horse.
Yep.
The beans around the campfire. Scene. Like, all the iconic moments in that movie. Half of Cleavon's script.
He says it would have been 18 minutes long if everything they cut out.
So he tells the studio, no problem. I'll cut it all out. And then didn't do it.
Yeah.
It's at a time where he didn't have anything. He had no juice.
Right.
To stand up to the studio. He just did it anyway. He stayed loyal to his art, his craft, and his creativity. And but then Gene Wilder, while making Blazing Saddles, came to him with a script.
Right.
And that became Young Frankenstein.
That was his idea. It was his idea.
Yep. It was Gene. So he's the co-writer of the script.
Mm-hmm.
And it was homage to Clive.
Colin Clive.
Colin, the creator of Frankenstein, and the director of Frankenstein.
Right.
But I'm counting on your notes, man. Can you read your notes? Do you have it in your notes?
Yeah, I got some notes.
Well, he just gave me the go-ahead. He just gave me to keep it
Yeah,
going.
look,
He gave me the signal to keep talking while he checks his
I'm
notes.
trying to act smart here, and you're giving away all my, like I'm referring. I jot things down because I want to double check.
James Whale.
James Whale.
Okay,
Yeah.
I don't need your notes.
No.
But so they wanted to stay true to the original Frankenstein.
Which they did, for
Yeah.
the most part. And they wanted to keep it in black and white for that reason, too.
And then the thing that gets me, and I knew this before the documentary, but I just never got it. The fight that he had with Gene Wilder about the putting on the Ritz scene
Yeah.
with Peter Boyle
Because they didn't want to do it.
is the
Mel didn't want to do
funniest scene in the movie.
Yeah. Well, I think the Gene Hackman scene is the best. How they even got Gene Hackman.
Gene Hackman wanted to do it.
Yeah, he wanted to do it. But I'm just saying.
Gene Wilder said that he fought him so hard. The reason Mel Brooks fought him so hard is because he wanted to make sure how bad he wanted it.
Yeah.
Which is pretty funny.
He went to bat for it so bad that he knew that it was.
So this is your lead actor and co-writer, and you're screwing with him that hard just to see if, as a test.
Yeah.
How bad do you want this?
But I mean, you had great people in it. Cloris Leachman and
it was brilliant.
Terry Garr. It's phenomenal.
Brilliant.
And then, then they do the producers, which is, I see, the Young Frankenstein. I don't like all this stuff, which we'll get to, but to me, the producers and Young Frankenstein are his two best. So,
well, Blazing Saddles has no equal. Young Frankenstein has no equal.
Yeah, I don't like Blazing Saddles as much as I do the other two, but
oh God, Slim Pickens and Blazing Saddles is brilliant, genius. I mean, they wrote a movie that's quoted every day by every generation. I mean, it'll live on forever, that movie.
Yeah. There was a lot of different things that came up. I mean, obviously his resume, he went from, he went to silent movie, high anxiety, history of the world, all of that. They went through that, Spaceballs.
I loved History of the World. Loved it. I went to the movies to see it.
You know what my funniest part with that one was? When he's a waiter at the Last Supper, and he looks in and he says, "Are these going to be separate checks or all together?" I thought that was the best. And the eunuch scene. Yeah.
But I just loved that movie. Silent movie and high anxiety went over my head.
I didn't like silent movie. I thought high anxiety was okay because you got Harvey Korman in a lot of these movies. He's just fantastic.
Brilliant. Yeah, great.
But I thought one of the funniest stories he told in the documentary. He's in Beverly Hills, and I don't know if he was at the Hill. I forget where it was, but he says he saw Cary Grant, and Cary Grant knew him. Mel Brooks, and he goes, "I can't believe Cary Grant knew him." You want to go to lunch? He goes, "Cary Grant wants me to go to lunch with him." And the next day he goes, "Hey Mel, we're going to lunch," and he did it for a few days, and then after a while it got so routine for him. When Cary Grant called, he goes, "Tell him I'm on the phone." Yeah. But there's pictures. They showed pictures in it with him and Cary Grant. It was like Cary Grant loved him.
Yeah,
and that was kind of a funny story because Cary Grant was a mage actor. He was really good. But then he got into a serious part. He wanted to do serious movies. He kept his name off it.
One of my favorite movies.
Which one are you talking about? The Elephant Man?
Yes.
Yeah.
One of my favorite movies.
And he kept his name off.
Right, because he didn't think because
they said it would be, as soon as you see Mel Brooks, it's going to be a comedy.
Right.
And then he went into the Fly and Francis, which about Francis Farmer.
Yeah.
That's a phenomenal
Jessica
movie.
Lange.
That's a phenomenal movie. I didn't know that was a Mel Brooks movie.
I didn't either.
And
I didn't know The Fly was. I didn't know he was involved in The Fly. I knew he was involved in Elephant
because
Man.
It was the Mel Brooks movie company, but he didn't put his name in front because he didn't want it to be like, oh, it's a comedy again, not taken serious. He wanted to do a few serious ones, which I thought was phenomenal.
But the Elephant Man was so brilliantly made, brilliantly casted. Anthony Hopkins, John Hurt, just really, really. That was the first thing I saw John Hurt in, and it was.
Was that before Heat? What was the name of that movie you did with?
No, that's William Hurt.
Oh, that's a different guy?
Yeah, John Hurt's a British actor.
Oh.
And the first movie I saw with him where he actually looked like himself, I was shocked because I had only known him for Elephant Man.
Okay.
So and then another movie came out and that's John Hurt. But just so well done.
So then he gets into getting the producers on
Broadway.
Broadway. 12 Tony Awards, Nathan Lane and Matthew Broderick.
Right.
And he wrote all the musical score for it.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't, he had to put it in musical form. And then it just was unprecedented how it wound up running for so long. I mean, just phenomenal. And then it goes into his friendship with Carl Reiner his whole life.
Right.
I mean, they were like brothers, and then at the end it gets sad. I mean, they were old. They were getting up there. He was there when his wife, Anne Bancroft, died, got sick suddenly, and she died. And then Carl Reiner.
They started watching TV, with their snack trays.
In fact, one of the last things that they showed Jerry Seinfeld doing the
comedians in cars, yeah.
And they just, instead of getting him in the car, he went to the house,
right,
brought him sandwiches, and they watched Jeopardy every night, and they watched a movie, and it was pretty funny.
And for 7 months after Carl Reiner passed away,
he stayed there.
He went to the house, and Rob was like, "We can't sell the house.
We're not selling the house."
Right. And Albert Brooks took the last name Brooks. This wasn't in the doc either.
No, it wasn't.
But Rob Reiner made a documentary about Albert Brooks.
I saw that.
And they were best friends growing up. They grew up together. And so when Seinfeld did that comedian, which I love comedians,
I thought it was great. I watched a lot of them.
They you look around that house, and the comedy that came out of that house is ridiculous, because Albert Brooks in high school was putting on sketches for Carl Reiner. He'd get an idea and come over to Rob's house and do a sketch for Carl Reiner.
Yeah. But one of the other things I got out of it, if you watch all the talk shows he was on, or he would just be out and about. He stayed in like this Mel Brooks character. Like it was no shut-off switch.
Right.
He was just always coming up with jokes and shtick when he was out. He could be meeting you on the street, and he would start.
And he could mix with royalty and presidents, and then write gutter humor.
Yeah.
Because in History of the World, my favorite moment in History of the World is Harvey Korman when he's the king, and he's playing chess with real people. And this is what he said. It's good. Mel Brooks is like, "It's good to be the king."
Right.
And they call the piss boy over, and the kid comes over with a bucket, so he didn't have to go inside to take a leak, and he pisses in the bucket, and he says to the kid, "Wait for the shake." So that guy who wrote that probably then went off and had dinner with a president.
But I mean, like he always knew, like, he brought his crew of actors back for all these movies all the time.
Yeah, he was very loyal.
Madeline Kahn was
loved her,
phenomenal, and all these people, and it was just. I thought it was well done. This movies I didn't like. I wasn't a big Spaceball guy. You know why? Maybe
I've never seen it.
Maybe because I wasn't a Star Wars guy either.
Right. That's why I've never seen it, because I'm not going to get it. I'm just not.
No, I'm not.
And it was funny that he said the only thing George Lucas said is, "Don't do merch."
No merch. Yeah.
So what did he do? He did a
T-shirt.
T-shirt.
The movie, right?
He did a T-shirt. Yeah.
Yeah. So. No, I thought it was well done. I thought, the fact that he's still alive.
And Josh Gad was wearing the T-shirt.
Yeah.
In the documentary when he was being interviewed.
I thought it was really good. I recommend it to anybody that hasn't seen it yet. You got to spend some time because it is 2-hour sessions, but I thought it was well done.
Oh yeah, what a life! We can't comprehend that life. The people that he mixed with, and as a fan, to sit down with snack trays and watch Jeopardy with Carl Reiner, the Mel Brooks and Carl Reiner, is as good as it could get for me.
But in that 5-year period where he wasn't making any money, he's lucky he had Anne Bancroft, because she had money, and she just said, and she kept pushing him. You keep trying. I don't want to see you stop trying. And then you get smart.
And don't give in.
No, don't give in, and just do it. Just do it. Be true to yourself, and not. She was amazing. Anyway, she was phenomenal. I loved her as an actress. But I think I'm going to watch the next one. I'm going to watch is the Miracle about the 1980 hockey team. Since it's Olympic time, I got to see that one. I haven't had time to do that yet.
That was great.
And we'll come up with some other things. But I would recommend to anybody listening take a look at it if you're a fan of Mel Brooks. Even if you're not a fan, maybe you learned something. I learned a lot I didn't know.
It's nostalgic
Yeah.
because we all grew up with him.
Yep.
And real quick before we wrap up, Damon Wilson passed away.
Damon Wilson.
He played Lamont, Sanford and Son.
Mm-hmm.
Catherine O'Hara passed away.
And we were just talking about her last week.
And yeah, we just brought her up.
Home Alone.
And just losing Catherine O'Hara, she's a giant.
Yeah, she was young.
71.
Yeah. No, it's scary.
That's young for you.
Well, 3 years difference there.
So
I know I got to watch my P's and Q's. So, all right.
Okay.
We'll talk to you next week.
Next week.
Thank you. Bye.